This is the third week of Academic Integrity Policies course. I'd like to welcome you all to this session. Indeed, we were supposed to be guesting Teddy Fishman here today, but unfortunately, we lost contact. I hope she will be able to join us in the forthcoming minutes, but if not, we will be able to continue talking about sanctions regarding academic misconduct. Within this perspective, I'd like to call your attention to specifically some related terminologies that will be important for us. Before we start, let's try to see what we are supposed to be doing today. Of course, I wanted to introduce briefly Teddy Fishman to you, her qualifications. Remember last week we talked about academic integrity and fundamental values of academic integrity. Teddy Fishman is the editor of that book, The Fundamentals of Academic Integrity. So we will go beyond the fundamental values of academic integrity, and this time try to see what we understand from academic misconduct. And we will see the prevalence of academic misconduct, how common it is, and what available sanctions we can apply in case of academic misconduct. I'll also talk about plagiarism reference tariffs. Such tariffs usually are available in the United Kingdom. So they may also help us constitute some policies regarding the sanctions. And then once again, we will refer to honor codes. This time honor codes will be situated with the United States, more association with United States, and their cultural interactions and the other factors that might be situated with honor codes, and where are we as Turkey, as Çanakkale 18 Mart University regarding the honor codes. We are going to question this with the concluding remarks. Okay, here you see a lovely picture of Teddy Fishman. And you're already familiar with the International Center of Academic Integrity. This is the center established in the United States by ICAI. You read the second chapter, you already read the second chapter from Tracy's book. So ICAI is the author of the opening chapter for that section. So you should be familiar with the name of ICAI. Established the International Center of Academic Integrity, and Teddy Fishman, he devoted almost last decade to direct International Center of Academic Integrity. She earned her PhD from Purdue University, and she taught several courses related to ethics in relation with popular culture. However, her main discipline is rhetoric and communication. Therefore, I believe that since the main function of language is communication, we have a lot to learn from Teddy with regards to language teaching policies. Okay, then I'm moving forward to definition of academic integrity. Remember, last week we already talked about 6 fundamental values of academic integrity. These are the values identified by the International Center of Academic Integrity, identified by Teddy Fishman. So these are honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility. These 5 are the core elements, in addition to courage. Remember, last week I thought that these 5 values could be related to main language skills in a way. I mean, in terms of our understanding, we need these 5 skills. However, in order to have these 5 fundamental values, we need courage. Courage here could be considered as the sub-fundamental value, which is necessary to maintain, to continue the other values. For example, in order to be honest, you also need to be need courage in order to act in an honest manner. So, in total, talking about these 6 fundamental values. When we go further to academic misconduct, then, now I'd like to ask your understanding of academic misconduct. How would you define academic misconduct? This is your turn, please. Özgür.
Hocam merhaba. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to this lecture. To me, academic misconduct is any practice that is a threat to academic integrity.
Okay, any practice that
is a threat to academic integrity.
A threat to academic integrity. Okay, this seems fine. What else? Anything else? Hatice?
Hocam, good morning again. I think it's about being dishonest in any kind of academic activity. It can be anything, but the main problem would be dishonesty.
So, remember the 6 values. One of them was being honest. So, you give
the first one, actually.
First one being honest. So, if there is a problem with this issue, then to you, academic misconduct occurs. Okay.
Yes, hocam. In the broadest sense.
Okay. Now I move forward to our webpage, our network webpage, and if you're familiar with our glossary, we try to define terminologies related to academic integrity, and academic misconduct is one of the terminologies that we try to identify there. Here we use academic misconduct and academic malpractice as in an interchangeable manner. And our definition for academic misconduct is any action or attempt action. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to finalize the action. Having an attention to that action also may be related to academic misconduct. Any action or attempted action that undermines academic integrity. So what do we understand from academic integrity? Please refer to the 6 fundamental values that undermines academic integrity and may result in an unfair academic advantage or disadvantage for any member of the academic community or wider society. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it should have connections only with the academia. The connections, the relations with academia might be associations, might have some associations with the society, and it might have some impact on the society. Today I'll try to illustrate this with reference to several other academic misconduct issues. What about types of academic misconduct? Could you please give some examples? Miranda?
I should turn my microphone on first, right? Because I forget doing that. So some examples of academic misconduct would probably be cheating, which could be like dishonesty in an academic assignment, or or attempting to use materials, or assisting others in using materials which are not allowed to be used. Plagiarism, is another type that, you know, comes to my mind. Maybe also, you know, false information and representation of that information.
What do you
Then
mean?
another one would be, you know, stealing intellectual property. Yes?
Miranda, could you please clarify what we mean by false information?
With false information, for example, in an academic assignment, we providing information which is not correct, or for example, giving like bibliography which is not correct, or altering information or data. For example, in the research, there are we give data, we present data. There are times when researchers present data that do not exist.
Okay.
That's for me false information.
When it comes to research integrity or publication ethics, of course, there will be several other terminologies that we will be referring to, such, for example, falsification, data falsification, or fabrication. When we talk about data fabrication, for example, we mean that we produce data which do not exist. So
Yes.
you type your own data, or falsification refers to that, okay, considering your research question or hypothesis, you change some data in order to support your hypothesis, for example. Okay, this could be related to some other, especially related to some research misconduct issues, or publication ethics.
But also at the university level, you know, like providing misleading information to instructors.
Such as?
You know, when you the work in the work, the assignment, you provide for paragraphs that are not true, you know, that are not yours, that are not, that you have, that are lies as well, you know, this type of false information.
Okay, so if you plagiarize, if you directly copy from another source and then paste it, or if you copy from several sources and paste it is called plagiarism. But of course, in academic writing, if we are talking about academic writing, of course, we need to support our claim. So we will need to also refer to reliability of the sources here. I mean, we need to teach our students then how to search on the internet, how to retrieve reliable information from the internet, or when they go to the library, for example, how to choose among the sources that they exist. They type any keyword in the search engine, for example, by using their university library facilities, and they will have thousands of related sources. So what to choose among these 1,000 sources, for example? Which criteria they need to pay attention regarding the reliability of the sources or credibility of the sources? Here, of course, we will need to refer to some avoidance strategies, especially avoidance from predatory publishers. Therefore, it is also important. So academic integrity, as you see, here is an integration from several components, which requires seeing the clear picture, requires information coming from different aspects. Okay, thank you, Miranda. Hatice, yes, please.
Oh, sorry. I forgot I raised my hand. Actually, Miranda has mentioned many of the primary ones, and also you have mentioned, but I wanted to talk about the another party in academic misconduct, because it's not just the academics that do that. We have publications that publish not worthy papers or researches, and claim that they somehow fit the criteria. So that's another party in academic misconduct, I think. Publications.
Okay, so you refer to some problems with publication ethics again. Could you please clarify what you mean here?
Okay, so for example, there are some publications who accept any kind of paper without providing any kind of academic review, although they claim that they do, for example, blind review, double-blind reviews.
Okay, so you are referring to predatory publishers.
Yes, yes, yes. As
Okay.
I said, you have mentioned that before I did.
We are already familiar with predatory publishers. In addition to predatory publishers, we also need to be careful about vanity publishing. Are you familiar with this term?
Can you repeat, Hocam?
Vanity publishing.
No.
Okay. What happens with predatory publishers? What do they do? Predatory publishers target people. They send spam emails. Okay. They claim that expert in this field and to publish your paper, send your paper, and we will finalize the review, peer review, probably in a week, and then in 10 days, we will have published your paper. They have such claims, and for this benefit, they ask you to pay article, what's that they call as an article processing fee. So they ask you to pay. That is the procedure that predatory publishers follow. They claim that they run peer review, rigorous peer review. However, indeed, they do not do this.
Hocam, may I add something?
Sure.
There are also conferences like that. You know, you pay and you go and you present paper for, academic credit.
Predatory publishers. So predatory publishers might be related to any publication options. It could be organizing conferences. It could be writing books, publishing edited collections. For example, you must be receiving several emails from publishing houses in Turkey claiming that, okay, they are international publishing houses and they will be publishing international books. And once you submit your manuscript, they will publish your manuscript in as an international publishing house, as an international publisher, and they ask you to pay some, again, publication fees. This is also a kind of predatory publishing. So any type of predatory publication. What goes beyond or makes it different for vanity publishers is vanity publishers again contact you, again ask you to submit something, but they never claim that they run peer review. They ask you, they send you email, for example, that, okay, that you have completed your master's degree or your PhD degree, and we are very interested in publishing your research, your thesis. Send your thesis to us and we will publish it. So they get the copyright. Indeed, they do not publish any hard copies. They just publish hard copies on demand. It's not publishing in it. It will be printing out. They use printers and then send it as hard copies. This is what vanity publishers do, very similar to predatory publishers. But what makes vanity publishers different from predatory publishers is they do not have any peer review. They never claim to have any peer review facilities. Okay, then. Anything else you'd like to add here? Otherwise, I'm going forward to my list.
I'm thinking also of, falsifying university documents as well, like, transcripts and similar documents. That's another type of academic misconduct, right?
So, yeah, you are right. You are right. Falsifying any legal documents, we can say. Of course, this is another type of academic misconduct. Here you see a few samples that I listed here. These are the most common ones. we already talked about plagiarism. How would you define plagiarism, for example? Kubilay?
Professor? So,
Yes, please.
I think plagiarism happens in a situation where one submits any document for credit or benefit.
So, okay, for credit
without sufficient acknowledging.
This is a definition which benefits from, again, Teddy Fishman. Teddy
Yes.
Fishman has a very good definition of plagiarism, and in her definition, she refers that plagiarizers, they do this on purpose for some credit or for some benefit. If you are talking about a student here, what might be the benefit here?
So it could be a credit or getting a high grade.
Okay, passing the course, for example,
Yes,
or
sure.
getting high grades. Okay, these are the benefits. But you said that any document. What do you mean by document? Could you please?
So it could be an essay or a master thesis or a doctoral thesis, an essay. What else?
So
maybe.
Kubilay, can we shortly say any written text?
Yes, yes. It's much better, Professor.
Much better?
Yes.
But not that better, I think, because we need to expound it. We need to go beyond written text. We need to include ideas as well. We need to include any visual materials as well into this definition. So rather than using any text, we need to replace it with any work.
Yes.
Any work. It could be anything. It could be even the ideas. So if you're referring to ideas, even if you are paraphrasing them, even if you restructure the sentence, you change the words, you need to acknowledge the original author in your citations. Otherwise, it could be recognized as plagiarism. Yes, please, Miranda.
I think Teddy Fishman also includes elements of let's say multimodality, like computer programs or dance choreography and all sort of work product like portfolios or projects and so on. So right. I think she goes beyond the sort of classical terms that we are sort of used to in our concept.
If we are talking
in our
about
research
policies, institutional academic integrity policies, we shouldn't merely focus on foreign language teaching here. We need to think about how to cover students in arts department, for example. So once you ask them to draw a picture, for example, what about their inspiration? Or
exactly.
When we ask a student at a music department, for example, to compose something, what about the tones? What is acceptable in plagiarism of music? So we need to think about all instances here, not only restricted with the written words. Okay then. What about the second one, contract cheating? Özgür?
Hocam, let me start by reminding that today is the day of action against contract cheating.
I on purpose tried to avoid this.
Yes, you have a session today, right, about contract cheating?
Yeah, just after this class, we will be talking about this as an ICAI activity.
Okay, we'll be there.
Like.
Contract cheating is a form of academic misconduct. In this misconduct type, students or academics engage in third parties and pay them to complete their own work.
Okay. So it means that money should be included, right?
Yes, money talks here.
Money talks here.
Yes.
Thomas Lanchester from United Kingdom, he's the one who coined this term, and according to him, money cannot be restricted. Contract cheating cannot be restricted with money. It could be any agreement, any exchange between two parties. Let's say, for example, two students. They engage with each other. Okay, you do something for me, I do something for you. It could be even cooking, for example. I cook for you because you are doing my assignment. Here's a contract. What is the contract? Okay, you do my assignment, I cook for you. Or you do my assignment, I pay you. It could be anything. But it is also related to collision. Are you familiar with collision?
Yes.
Okay, if you read the relevant chapter from Tracy's book, probably you are familiar with this terminology. Collision and contract cheating are very similar to each other. Again, by collision, we are referring to any agreement. But what happens in collision? An illegal agreement. An illegal agreement among students, for example, or with a student and an essay mill, for example. It could be anything. So indeed, contract cheating and collision seem to be overlapping with each other. They are referring to any illegal activities between some parties. And we are all familiar with cheating by copying on tests. It could happen in any form, especially when we check what happened in Turkey until 2016, considering the developments at Central Exam Center, ÖSYM, for example. We can see several examples, strange examples of cheating by copying on tests. It could be a student cheating in your examination when she sits in your examination. It could be a single student, or might be referring to a greater organization by the involvement of some other parties. Of course, it is possible to provide some more examples, especially with reference to ethics in research or ethics in publication. I strongly recommend you to go to our network webpage and then find our glossary there. In the glossary, you will see almost all related terminology, including samples of academic misconduct there. And please try to familiarize yourself with these definitions, with these terminologies. We also try to translate them into Turkish, so please have a check of their Turkish equivalences. Of course, you may come up with some other ideas, some other equivalences in Turkish maybe. So it's good to have a common understanding of these terminologies. Okay, shall we move forward? Okay.
Yes, please.
What about this question? How widespread is academic misconduct? What do you think? Miranda?
Well, I think academic misconduct is very wide because there are certain actions that if we're talking about the academic context, you know, students do that are not that fall into this category and that are not aware of doing them, that become a habit. So for example, you know, as you mentioned, cheating, collusion. There are students often do collusion thinking that they are collaborating, for instance.
Okay, this is very important. When we talk about collision, we need to discriminate collision from collaborating.
This was the most important thing.
We encourage our students for collaborative learning. However, there might be misinterpretation of the terms. Where do we have the limitation for collaborative learning and when collision starts? When you check the relevant chapter again, you will see several scenarios there. So please investigate these scenarios, read these scenarios very carefully. So it will enlarge your understanding of academic misconduct. I mean, especially when it comes to collaborative learning, it is very important.
Exactly. So this was the chapter, the part in that section that drew my attention the most. And those scenarios also presented by different universities around the world, you know, in terms of what is accepted and what is not accepted.
You see several samples from there. In addition to scenarios, you see several samples from university, widespread university policies. So what is acceptable and what is not. This is very important, identifying our policy. So we need to inform our students beforehand what is acceptable and what is not.
Exactly. So that's why, in my opinion, academic misconduct happens a lot. You know, because depending, of course, on the culture, but in a culture where, you know, people, students collaborate, and it's so common to, you know, get together and to share information with each other, and to, you know, sort of help in inverted commas, you know, academic misconduct becomes a daily practice.
So if you read these scenarios, you will realize that even exchanging sources. Suppose, for example, an instructor asks students to write a research paper, a review paper, let's say. What does it mean? It means that students need to research about the topic. And in order to write the literature review, let's say, for example, two students are studying similar topics and they exchange their sources. Okay, I retrieve these sources from the internet. I give these sources to another friend. And that friend uses these sources to support the claims. Even if we are not cooperating in the written text, we are exchanging sources. This cannot even be acceptable, might be considered as academic misconduct, because the lecturer gives the responsibility of research skills or searching skills on the internet, for example, to the students. However, the students here in this example, for example, do not follow these regulations. Therefore, this is also considered to be academic misconduct. Therefore, instructions are very important here. Before you give any task, you need to give very careful instructions. Okay, if you ask your students to search on the internet, if this search should be done individually, we need to clearly mention students that, okay, this is an individual task. You need to search on the internet yourself. You need to find reliable sources. You are responsible for the reliability of the sources, credibility of the sources, and do not share your sources with other friends, because they are also responsible for finding relevant sources. So we need to show the limitations of the assignment here by giving clear instructions. Kubilay.
Yes, Professor, I have a question actually. I read this study conducted by McCabe. So actually it's a replicated study, an extended study based on 28 behaviors. And so, so the results are surprising actually, because there is a decreasing tendency. So because they report less behaviors in terms of academic integrity, misconduct. So can we say that it is not as widespread as that it used to be in the past?
Indeed, it is a very difficult question, because many researchers believe or wrongly claim that with the advent of internet technology, students started to plagiarize more. When you read several papers, you see such claims. However, so far, I guess the relevant literature does not support this. We cannot claim that students are plagiarizing more. Probably students were plagiarizing all the time. However, now we increase our awareness. It means that we are more sensitive to this topic. So maybe we are more prone to reveal academic misconduct. Of course, there are some changes. Internet change dramatically the things that we are writing or we are exchanging, but we cannot blame students here that they are plagiarizing more. Hatice.
Hocam, I was going to say that before the students, I think the biggest problem in our context, in my context at least, I can't say that this is true for every university in Turkey, but I can say that this is true for my university. The biggest problem is the academic misconduct among the academics. So before we ask our students to act responsibly, I think we should act responsibly before we do that to our students. So I think the biggest problem in Turkish academia is that, so I can see that it is pretty widespread. So in all forms we have mentioned before, it can be plagiarism, it can be predatory publishing, it can be falsifying information, documentation, data, anything, but I think the biggest problem is among the academics here.
Okay, this is true. I cannot agree more. We are talking about academic misconduct. We are not merely focusing on student plagiarism. If you are talking about academic misconduct, we should cover all interlocutors here. Who are they? Okay, students, of course, one part. Academics. So academics should be covering lecturers, researchers, and managers here. So we need to see the interaction among these four parties: students, lecturers, researchers, and managers. When we talk about the policies should be addressing all these people. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. I mean, if we question students that, okay, they are plagiarizing, then we need to check the roots. Why do they plagiarize? Once you check the relevant literature, for example, you will see several reasons. The most common reasons are, okay, short in time, so trying to catch the deadline. All the time, plagiarizers try to find some ways in order to support their misconduct. This behavior. But what about the lecturer? For example, remember what we previously said. Did the instructor provide clear instructions for the assignment? Did the instructor explain the assignment carefully? Did the instructor provide theoretical basis which will guide students to write the assignment? Or throughout the assignment, writing the assignment, did the instructor provide any feedback, any contribution to students when they need? Or after the completion of the assignment, what feedback did the instructor provide to develop to students in order to develop their papers? If an instructor is simply giving the assignment and then receiving the copies just for scoring, then it means that there is something wrong here from the point of instruction. We need more careful designs here. The curriculum and the assignments should be incorporating with each other and supporting the assignments should be supporting the course outputs here. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. Otherwise, the instructors might be encouraging students to plagiarize, unfortunately. Yes, Özgür, please.
Hocam, I want to answer this question from two perspectives, contract cheating and plagiarism. For contract cheating, unfortunately, it's really widespread in Turkey. There are lots of contract cheating services and they explicitly advertise on internet. And there are lots of students and academics who use this contract cheating services because we don't have the legislation to prevent contract cheating in Turkey. That's the main problem. And unfortunately, it's really widespread. And as for plagiarism, at graduate and undergraduate levels, we are making progress. We are starting to make progress about plagiarism, but the main problem is at the secondary school level because we have no awareness at the secondary school. And what's worse is that plagiarism is considered to be a regular practice at secondary school. Teachers assigned students and students download their homework from the internet and hand in to the teacher, and this is accepted as a regular practice, and it's really widespread at the secondary school level, and I think this is the main problem about plagiarism.
Okay, you're right. We try to correct something when students come to university. However, we try to change their behaviors. Miranda called them as behaviors.
Yes.
So we need to refer to the principles of behaviorism here. Stimulus response relationship. So at high school or at primary school, for example, what does the student practice? The student is given an assignment, checks sources on the internet, copies something from the internet, pastes it onto a paper, attaches some lovely figures, printed out, hopefully in color, and then submit it to the teacher, and then receives 5. Okay, so what does the student practice here? The student is rewarded here. Okay, you simply copy it from the internet and hand it in teacher, and then you receive the highest score. What does it mean? The teacher here encourages student to do the same thing for the same for the forthcoming assignments, and the student continues doing this repeatedly throughout primary school, secondary school, high school, and When the student comes to university, we ask the student, okay, you cannot do this. What do you need to do? If you are borrowing some information, you need to put it into double quotation mark. You need to provide in-text citations. You need to add reference entries, blah, blah. We try to change this misbehavior. However, what do we need to do? We need to develop such skills from the very beginning. So we need more cooperation. Higher education institutions should have more cooperation with Ministry of Education, and we need to, in their curriculum, we need to teach them that they shouldn't do such behaviors. This is called as academic misconduct. And Özgür, in his PhD thesis, is studying this, and hopefully he will be providing guidelines for Ministry of Education in terms of cooperation with higher education institutions to revise their policies regarding this. Okay, thank you, Özgür. So I'm moving forward to my example here. Please examine the figure that I provide here, and we will talk about it. The statistics is coming from my writing skills course at our BA program. This is a first year course in which we try to develop academic writing skills.
Hocam, am I reading correctly, or there are no papers
you are
without plagiarism?
Sorry?
Am I reading it correctly, or there has been no issue of not plagiarism at all?
Okay, we will
so
check.
We have plagiarism, no submission.
Okay, let's start with 2010. This is when my interest into plagiarism has started. I was teaching reading and writing at that time. It was just after the completion of my PhD thesis. And I realized something wrong with my students' assignments. I thought that some expressions were too perfect. So I had suspicions. I decided to Google search some expressions and realized that, oh, my students were plagiarizing. At that time, I remember in 2010, I remember that I had 167 students, 167 students taking that course. And after Google search, I realized that exactly 100 of my students plagiarized in their assignments. Roughly more than 2/3 of my students. So if there are 3 assignments, it means that 2 of the assignments include plagiarized expressions. It means that there was something wrong which cannot be acceptable. At that time, what did I do? I was not aware of academic integrity at that time, so I tried to provide a solution, my own solution to the problem. So I told my students that, to these 100 students, that you failed. Why? Because you submitted a plagiarized assignment. So they all failed. What does it mean? You see, this is the number of 167, the number of students taking this course. So what happened? Not next year, of course, there was an increase in the number of students taking this course because of the repeating students who were coming from this year. What happens with the number of plagiarized submissions. You see, there is a sharp decline from 100 to 30s. So can we say that increasing awareness solved the problem of plagiarism or solved the problem of academic misconduct? Indeed, in a way, it was a solution. However, it couldn't be an acceptable solution for me, because what happened here, you see, this is representing the students who did not submit their assignments. What happens here? There is an increase in the number of students who do not submit their assignments for the next year. Why? Because in 2010, I didn't use Turnitin. I started using Turnitin in 2011. Before I start lecturing that year, I informed my students that you are going to submit your assignments through Turnitin. So what happened? Indeed, Turnitin had a deterrent impact on some students who had an intention of plagiarizing. So what happened? There was an increase in the number of students who did not submit their assignment. It was not something that I desired, because my aim was teaching academic writing skills. Of course, I tried to prevent plagiarism, but on the other hand, as a teacher, I need to encourage my students to write their own papers and then to submit their papers. So it means that again, something wrong here. So throughout the time, what happens here? As you see, increase for the next year in the number of plagiarized assignments, some decrease, some increase here, and decreasing. And recently, I have very few students, 3 to 5 each year, very few students who still have an ambition of submitting some plagiarized expressions. However, as you see, these are very, very few. But how do I solve the problem here? I solve the problem by inventing a model, a writing model. In this model, I ask my students to exchange peer feedback. So this is scaffolding, benefiting from zone of proximal development. What do my students do? They provide feedback to each other. However, be careful. If you ask your students to provide feedback, this might be problematic. Problematic from two aspects. The first problem is there might be some students who will be misleading each other. Suppose, for example, I am a poor student and Ece Hoca is a good student. The teacher matches two of us. What does it mean? I will be providing feedback to Ece Hoca, whereas Ece Hoca is providing feedback to me. So, as a poor student, probably I am happy with this match because I will be receiving good quality feedback from a good student. But what about Ece Hoca? Probably she will not be happy with this match because she will be receiving feedback from me as a poor student, and my feedback probably will have no contribution for the development, for the further development of her paper. Therefore, what did I do in my model? I tried to categorize my students in 3 different groups: good students, poor students, and students in the middle, considering their proficiency in writing. And then I match one paper with one student from each group. So it means that if I submit a paper, I will be receiving feedback from a good student, from a student just in middle, just in between, and from a student. Then, as a student, I need to develop some metacognitive skills in order to process this information. It's quite similar to what happens when we submit a manuscript to a journal. What happens? We receive feedback from several reviewers. Sometimes we receive contradictory feedback from reviewers. So whose responsibility is it to develop the paper, to take the reviewer's feedback into consideration? As the author, it is my responsibility. So I expect something similar from my students. It is a student's responsibility to check the accuracy of the feedback that she is receiving from the peers. So it requires the development of some metacognitive skills, self-regulation skills. So students become more critical. They do not have to make all the corrections suggested by peer reviewers. However, they need to take them into consideration, check the accuracy, and take necessary actions only if necessary. This is important. And the other important consideration with peer feedback is doing this anonymously. Otherwise, if you ask students to exchange peer feedback openly, again, it wouldn't work because students usually do not like criticizing their friends in order to prevent their social status or social interactions, friendships with their peers. So it works best when you run it anonymously. It is possible to do this by using Turnitin. So I use Turnitin Peer Feedback Studio in order to run this model. And by the help of this model, I try to increase students' familiarity towards plagiarism because they are expected to submit revision assignments, and in each revision assignment, they see problems regarding plagiarism issues or some less developed paraphrase expressions, so that they can work on them to revise in a better way. So prevention of plagiarism does not happen merely due to a text matching software system. It requires some pedagogical implications as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So while we are thinking about our academic integrity policies, we cannot merely focus on detection. Simply focus on detection or simply focus on reaction as sanctions. Thirdly, we need to consider pedagogical ways of students, how to teach them to become more aware of their mistakes and how to correct it. Otherwise, it wouldn't work in a proper manner. Yes, Miranda Hocam.
Hocam, I was curious when you, this is one question that I thought of. In 2010, you said you noticed that 100 of your students had plagiarized, so you decided to fail them. Had you already provided clear guidelines that at the beginning of the course? Did you have a sort of document where these were written? I'm wondering if they sued the institution, if they sued ÇOMÜ.
Okay, so the problem, of course, as a lecturer, I cannot put myself out of this circle. It was a problem, and I was a part of this problem at that time. Because as a lecturer, I also have some responsibilities. So it means that I couldn't increase awareness related to academic integrity at that time. I couldn't call my students' attention to plagiarism. At that time, for example, I didn't refer to plagiarism in my courses. I hadn't provided samples of plagiarized expressions. Of course, I was teaching them how to cite, how to make correct citations, how to paraphrase correctly, but there was something weak from my point. There was something weak regarding of academic integrity. I thought I was providing guidelines clear enough, but the examples were not very clear enough related to plagiarized expressions. And be careful. The prevention of plagiarism also requires cooperation with the others. Not cooperation with only students, but cooperation with the other colleagues. Starting by that time, luckily it was my luck that many of the other lecturers at the department tried to increase students' awareness regarding academic integrity and related to plagiarism. So we cooperated as several colleagues at the department in order to increase students' awareness related to this topic. If you are alone, then probably again this wouldn't work, because we are talking about habits. We are talking about behaviorism here.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Hocam, thank you. So you got also support from the other academic staff as well.
This is very important. Cooperation with the other academics, including managers, lecturers, researchers, and the students is very important. Then you can achieve something. Otherwise, probably it wouldn't work.
Because in our context, in hazırlık context, if we fail students from plagiarism, they will often try to sue the school, or try to find some ways to find gaps in the guidelines or in the processes, and you know what I mean.
In 2010, in Georgia was the dean of the faculty, and when he was also the head of the department at that time again. At that time, I visited him and I informed him that, okay, we have students who are plagiarizing. I have 167 students and 100 of them plagiarized. I am going to fail them from this course. Do you support me? And he said, go ahead. Don't hesitate, go ahead. I will be supporting you as the head of the department and as the dean of the faculty. So, of course, this was very important. If you say, as in your example, if students go to the policy documents and if they find anything that might to their benefit in terms of supporting their misbehavior, then as a lecturer, you might find yourself in a difficult position. Yes, true. So this is why we need policies, academic integrity policies. If we can develop these policies, it means that we will be cooperating with all the other lecturers and we will have legal documents to support our cases. You plagiarized, what does it mean? You are a first year student, you plagiarized, so it means that you will be resubmitting your assignment. You are plagiarizing for the second time. You are a third year student. What does it mean? This time you cannot resubmit your assignment. It means that you will be retaking this course next year. You are a fourth year student. You are plagiarizing once again. What does it mean? Okay, we are going to make a note of this to your tariff, for example. Or you will be suspended. So we will talk about possible sanctions in a few minutes. We need to be very careful. Any type of academic misconduct may lead to corruption. Ece hocam.
All right, so I thought you could see actually Thank you so much. I've been listening to the whole thing, the whole session with huge interest, actually, and I've learned a lot. Thank you so much in the first place. And I'd like to say something about the collaboration among the colleagues. And thank you so much that you really wanted to emphasize that part as well. But I'd like to say a couple of things about this and how it is important to actually have a kind of a course policy given to the students at the beginning of the term, probably, because in 2000, starting from 2005. I started giving students, specifically in linguistics course, I was running the course at the time, some research essays, or essays based on research. And then, of course, I was not aware that there could be, I really don't know the history of Turnitin or other, detection devices. Maybe they were around, but I was not aware at the time. So I was simply inviting students to my office, and we were going through the introductions first, and then the body first, and then the conclusions and discussions first. So for each part, I was just having appointments with the students, and I was using my humanware, in other words, myself as a human detector, and I was indicating, look, this part does not belong to you. It sounds so bookish, so you have to change it, etc. So I was using myself as a detector. But I would like to say something about, and I would like to thank you, because with your initiation and with your efforts, actually, we started probably embedding our, making them more visible to the students, because I have these underlying policies with regard to plagiarism, with regard to academic conduct. However, we were not making it so, I was not making it so very visible for the students. So you were the dynamo there, I should say it. And since you really put a lot of effort in cementing this behavior, academic conduct, academic integrity within the students, actually, primarily, of course, I'm speaking for myself, but that led me to clarify my policies, to make them more visible for the students, and of course to go after the policies, because once you set your policies and the standards, definitely you have to go after them. So I was more careful about all the other standards that I have to be considering when I am actually checking my students' feedback. So you were the dynamo. Actually, as a result of your efforts, our policies and standards surfaced, at least for myself, this was so. I was able to clarify the whole thing. So basically, this shows how, in a department like us, the culture of academic integrity can flourish. Some people always lead, and some people sometimes follow. Maybe some people don't, but still, I think we owe to you, to a great extent, this establishment of academic culture in our department. So I'd like to thank you again, personally, for being the dynamo there, and for leading us, showing us how it is important for the policies to become more visible, both for us, because we became aware, and for our students by extension. Thank you.
Thank you, Ece Hocam. Indeed, this is collaboration as a department. I believe that we are collaborating very effectively, in a very effective manner, so that we achieve something. If I would do this on my own, I am sure I wouldn't do anything. So we are doing it all together. Now, as you already acknowledged, we have developed some policies related to our courses. For example, I'm teaching academic writing, and I have my own policy. Ece Hoca is teaching instructional materials, and she has developed her own policy. This is important. Why it is important? Because remember the definition of plagiarism. We indicated that anything, any idea, could be a written text, or it could be a visual material. Now, I know it very well that Ece Hoca encourages students to benefit from materials in order by not violating copyright holders' actions. So it is quite important to interact from different manners. So I am teaching them how to write academic papers, for example, how to cite. Georgia, on the other hand, is putting another piece, this time, for example, how to deal with copyright issues when they design their materials, when they copy some images from the internet, for example. So it means that we have a picture and we are putting some small pieces to this picture. This is a jigsaw activity indeed. So, Ece Hocam, would you like to say something else, or I see your hand rising here?
Thank you. No, I think it is just simply stayed there because I'm at the same time driving and trying to contribute. But no, I'm not driving and talking. I just pulled over and then I'm talking right now. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to say a couple of words, and thank you for indicating that how this is a jigsaw activity. Yes, indeed. That's what I do in the instructional technologies classes because they use lesson plans, images, different software. For this reason, they have to all the time pay credits to the creators, the product owners. This is a very important issue. We teachers are not stealers. This is what I say. We're not robbers. We have to be, it's very natural that we're going to be using other people's work, but as long as we pay tribute to them and we acknowledge their, contribution to whatever we put forward. That's right. We're trying to do our best in a collaborative manner in our classes. But let me just repeat once again. But you were the silver bullets there. This is what I could say. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks.
Okay, academic misconduct may lead to corruption. What I try to say here? How does corruption start? We talk about cheating. Cheating, okay, if we are talking about behaviorism, habit formation, repeated actions, how does it work? Cheating becomes deception on purpose. This becomes fraud in a later stage, and finally, we see the corruption in the society. I'm afraid we are all worried about corruption in the society, and it is not possible to prevent corruption without dealing with previous instances. I mean, if we want to change something, then we should start changing it from the very first steps. It means that increasing awareness related to academic integrity and preventing students from academic misconduct is a very important step in terms of preventing corruption in the society. Anyone who wants to add anything here to this discussion regarding corruption? Otherwise, I will move forward. Now, a question. Do you know anyone who was accused of academic misconduct? Anyone may cover you as well. Or it could be your student, your colleague, your friend. No one?
I know students who are accused of academic misconduct.
Which type of academic misconduct?
Plagiarism.
Plagiarism.
Yes, plagiarism and contract cheating.
Plagiarism and contract cheating.
Yes. So I think it was at BTU we had students who plagiarized, and also in high school I had students who were accused of contract cheating.
there are students who are plagiarizing everywhere, not only in Turkey, not only in BTU, not only at ÇOMÜ, but anywhere. Believe me, there are students at every university in every country. But the thing is, regarding the policy development, what happens in the case of plagiarism detection? For example, in my case, I show you the example, what I did. What did I do? You plagiarize. 100 students, you all plagiarize. So what is my decision? You fail. How does the system work? This is a very important question in terms of policy development. Because as a lecturer, what did I do? I did the action myself here. So in the case of plagiarism detection or suspicion, what should be done at the institutional level or at departmental level? Should I be the one as the lecturer who decide this? Who decide that, yes, it is plagiarism? Or should I be the one who decide the sanction? You plagiarize, I decide this as the lecturer. Since you plagiarize, you will receive 0 point and you will repeat this course next year. I am deciding this as the lecturer. Is this my responsibility? This is going to be the question related to sanctions. This is a very important question because at some institutions, especially in United Kingdom, for example, there are some offices, misconduct, academic misconduct offices. Let's say, for example, I'm a lecturer and I suspect that one of my students plagiarized or one of my students is involved in a contract cheating activity. So what do? I report it to the academic misconduct office. I report this student, this action to the office. Then what happens? Then the office invites the students, involves students for an interview. They interview, check the issue, any investigation, and then they decide whether it is an academic misconduct or not. If it is, then there will be a committee who will be deciding the sanction. So as the lecturer, my only responsibility is suspecting. I suspect, I report, the others take the action. I'm moving forward to possible penalty. Hatice, yes, please.
Hocam, I was going to answer the question, actually, the previous question. We hear a lot, actually, at my university when there is some kind of enmity between professors. They complain to UAK about, and I have heard some instances of taking the academic titles back. And also there are some problems with the foreign language scores. You know, somehow people can cheat on those scores. But the biggest surprise, the biggest shock I experienced was when I was trying to submit my MA thesis with other people. You know, you have to submit your thesis with a Turnitin report now. It's a must now. And, you know, the thesis supervisors are sometimes just too lazy to do that because it is them who should do that, you know, to get the report. But they tell the students to do that, and it is very easy to manipulate Turnitin reports. And I have seen a lot of instances of this. So, you know, there is one percentage, it shouldn't be over this, but as I said before, it's very easy to manipulate. You just change the filters and then it goes down dramatically from 40% to 4% easily. So I think that is one problem in our graduate schools.
Okay, we are going to talk about this, how to interpret similarity reports, and we will be talking about our project. Again, Özgür was involved. This was shortly known as T-Stop project. Hatice Hocam, are you from Anadolu University?
No hocam, Selçuk.
Okay, I remember so wrongly.
If you know what I mean.
Okay. I've been to several universities related to projects, some academic integrity projects in Turkey, and however, the problem is there is a misinterpretation of similarity reports, and wrongly the similarity ratios are used as the evidence of originality. We need to be very careful. Text matching similarity tools, these are just tools. As the name suggests, text matching similarity tool. Previously, they were called as plagiarism detectors. However, by 2015, we realized that calling them as plagiarism detectors is problematic because when we call them as plagiarism detectors, people misinterpret that, okay, they will be revealing plagiarism. Indeed, they are not revealing plagiarism. They are revealing similarities. It should be a human being, an academic, who decide whether the similarities are due to plagiarism or not. So it requires the involvement of the supervisor. It is very important here. And if the institution simply depends on the ratio, it is not acceptable. I see such claims, some institutional policies, for example, plagiarism up to 25% in Turnitin report is acceptable, which makes me that angry. It says plagiarism. 1% of plagiarism cannot even be acceptable. Even plagiarism in only one sentence cannot be acceptable. This is very important. So we need to force institutions change their understanding, change their policies related to text matching tools. First of all, they need to understand the function of the text matching tools.
Hocam, may I add something here? Turnitin also presents similarity even if you cite correctly. That's one other problem, I think. That's a problem in our interpretation of that similarity reports.
Okay, so this is what we call as false positives. I already shared the T-Stop article that we recently published. We will talk about this issue when we deal with interpreting text matching similarity reports, but false positives are quite problematic in terms of interpreting the reports. We will talk about it later, but not this week. Okay.
Okay, Hocam, thank you.
What about the penalties? So what about the sanctions? I remember that Tracy Bretak called them as outputs, not sanctions or penalties, but she used to say outputs. Here you see a photo that I took in 2016 in International Center of Academic Integrity Athens conference. This is Irene Glendening, my colleague from the network. Here she's presenting some possible sanctions. Probably this is the most comprehensive list of sanctions that we can find here. She has directed and was involved in several academic integrity related projects, so we can depend on this comprehensive list here. So let's see the examples, what could be applied. At the first step, what do we see? Action. I guess this is the most common sanction in our case in Turkey. What do you think?
I agree.
Definitely.
Certainly, Hocam.
This is the main problem. What happens? Suppose, for example, previously I said that I am working at a department. and I receive support from the other colleagues. Suppose that I do not receive this support from the other colleagues, and I am the only one who pay attention to increasing awareness related to academic integrity. I teach them, and when they go to the other classes, they continue behaving their misbehaviors. So, is it possible to provide a solution to this problem? Unfortunately not. Therefore, if you are alone at your department, and if all the other lecturers have no action related to plagiarized assignments, then it means that it will be very, very difficult for you to progress, because it will require institutional cooperation. Here are some other things that are available, such as verbal warning, formal written warning, remedial education. This is indeed another thing that we need to think about. For example, if we think about the universities in the United Kingdom, what happens at an institution there? Before a student starts their lectures, is Carrie here? Yes, Carrie, do you hear me? Okay, Carrie has just earned her PhD from Oxford University, so she knows more about the regulations in the United Kingdom. What happens when the student enrolls or registers at the university? Before taking the other courses, the student is expected to take an academic integrity course. By the help of this course, the student is familiarized with the fundamental values of academic integrity, how to cite, how to paraphrase, how to quote directly, how to reference, and what to avoid in order not to be accused of plagiarism, for example. So I guess we need such courses, such introductory courses for orientational purposes for our students. This is very important. And if the student, after registering to the departmental courses, enrolling his courses, if the student maintains academic misconduct, then the students might be asked to take this course once again. Some others: reduced marking on academic merit, 0 mark correction, repeat the module, fail the module, students' misconduct made public. Okay, we need to think about it. Is it possible to make this public? What about the legislation? Legislation is here very important. And what about the other? Suspensions, financial penalty, very strange penalty here, and expulsion, and misconduct recorded on students' file. These are possible sanctions. Of course, we need to justify our reasons once we match a type of academic misconduct with the sanction that is available here. Yes, Özgür, please.
Hocam, you know, as a part of my PhD thesis, I collected around 70 academic integrity policies of secondary schools all around the world. I made a content analysis and I compiled the sanctions in these analysis, in these policies. Can I share my screen to show the
Yes, please.
Sanctions? Okay, let me share. Okay, these are the sanctions that I compiled the academic integrity policies of secondary schools. More or less, they are similar to the IREN's sanction list. You can see the name of the school here. especially in American policies, after the sanctions, there's a part which is called restorative justice process. They, as far as I can understand, they want to learn from, they want students to learn from their mistakes. They not only penalize students, and they want to restore their mistakes by enabling a restorative justice process.
Thank you, Özgür.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
We will. I will upload once again.
Hocam, as you do that, maybe Carrie cannot turn her microphone on, because this is something we experienced yesterday when the guests, when we have a guest. I think this happens with guests.
Oh, I see.
She couldn't turn her microphone on.
And also they cannot write on chat as well too. Yeah.
No, actually, yesterday they could. Our guest, could write on chat, but could not turn her microphone or camera on.
Oh, so poor. This is Microsoft Teams. It sucks. Yeah. Okay. Carrie says something, I guess. Let's check.
Yes. I think she's
I-
experiencing the same thing.
Microphone problems. Yes, Carrie. We are talking here. Okay, don't worry. Now, I'd like to call your attention to another important thing: plagiarism reference tariff. Have you heard about it before?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Not until yesterday, reading
Yeah,
it,
I was
when reading about it.
yesterday too.
Okay. So, indeed, this is coming from Plagiarism Advice webpage. This is in cooperation with Turnitin. And here, Jill Rowell is also working for Turnitin. They prepared this plagiarism reference tariff. What happens here? Let's see the 2 pages from their tariff. Ece Hoca says something. I'd like to thank you for inviting me. I immensely enjoyed the session. Have to attend. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ece Hocam, for joining us today. It was a great pleasure, and it was our honor to welcome you here. See you later. Okay. So let's see what we have here. You see, the word penalty is based on the points. What happens? Students will have files at the institutional level, and for any type of academic misconduct, they will be receiving some points. You see the points here, which is quite similar to driving licenses that we have here. For example, you exceed the speed limits. So what is the penalty for this? Do you remember, any of you?
I think hocam, it depends on the speed.
The speed.
So there's a percentage that you violate.
If you exceed 30%, probably you will have to pay for about 1,000 Turkish liras.
Yeah,
And
I guess so.
also, they will be reducing blah blah points. Let's say, for example, 10 points, and you will have 100 credits. So if you become to 0 points, it means that you need to hand your driving license back to the officers. It is the principle here is quite similar. So students will be receiving some points corresponding with their academic misconduct behaviors. Here you see the lists, and it is also followed. This is also followed here. Assigning points. Here are the criteria, and here are the penalties, you may investigate this tariff for your future reference if you like. Now, last week, remember, we talked about honor codes, and if you read the chapter from Makaba today, probably you are familiar with this expression. Let me read it, please. His introduction to the concepts around academic honesty and dishonesty came over 50 years ago when he received his admissions package in the mail from Princeton University, including information about their honor code. So this is a very good example of increasing students' familiarity with academic integrity. What happens? He says this in 2016, 50 years ago. So we are talking about 1950s or something like this. What happens? He registers at a university and then he receives a package. In this package, he sees honor code by the university. So upon the arrival, even before the arrival to the university, the student becomes familiar with the values of academic integrity. So the university is showing to the student that we pay attention to academic integrity. Now, what do we do at our universities? Do we provide such a facility to our students? We have students from several different universities in Turkey. Do any of us do this?
No.
Not.
Hocam, it's not something like that, but in the regulations of the university, I think we have some items about cheating.
Cheating, yeah.
Its sanctions.
These items are coming from the legislation from Council of Higher Education. They are corresponding, they are attached to Council of Higher Education. Other wouldn't work. So we have some regulations. We cannot call them as honor code. Remember, last week we referred to honor codes once again with reference to Teddy Fishman, and we related them with cultural issues. So what about our culture? And what about American culture? What about the others' culture? And what about the honor codes that might be valid for our society? So we shouldn't call them, we don't need to necessarily call them as honor codes, but anyway, we can incorporate them into our academic integrity policies.
And religion also.
Of course, culture, if we are talking about culture, we cannot separate religious beliefs from cultural values. So religion must be involved, must be addressed here.
Hocam, in our culture, maybe the first three would be okay, can be applied on personal level, of course, if you take it from a personal responsibility, not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal. It is not accepted in any culture, actually. But when it comes to not tolerating others who do, if we, it's not very easy for us because, we would be just labeled as tattletales. So I don't think anyone could do that, any students or I don't know.
As whistleblowers, and whistleblowing is supposed to be an important merit of academic integrity. Maybe we talk about it later, about whistleblowers later in our course. You're right. But anyway, it doesn't matter what the religion is. I guess these are some common beliefs, some common values existing in any religion. Okay, to conclude, as Özgür said, once we check the policies, we will realize 3 approaches. What are these approaches? The first approach, deductive approach, which focuses on the detection of academic misconduct. Some of the other policies will be focusing, and mainly will be focusing on a reactive approach. What happens this time? We focus on sanctions. Okay, we detect academic misconduct. What might be the possible sanction? However, we need to go beyond these 2 approaches. Of course, we need detection and we need reaction, but before this, we need to prevent. We need to prevent academic misconduct. Sağlık Bakanımızın dediği gibi elimizde çok önemli bir koz var, yakalanmamak. So, which is quite similar in our case here. Prevent plagiarism, prevent academic misconduct. How can we prevent it? Now we need to benefit from pedagogy. Remember, for example, remember the model that I introduced. In order to prevent plagiarism, I benefited from some theoretical assumptions. So we need to think about this preventive approach in terms of developing our policies. Okay, then this is the end of today's session. I wanted to talk to you more, but I need to leave because I'll be attending a contract cheating session on behalf of European Network for Academic Integrity. If you'd like to join us, you can check the web pages of European Network for Academic Integrity or the web page of International Center for Academic Integrity. Indeed, the organizer is International Center for Academic Integrity. If you check their web pages, you will see the link for this session. The session will be continuing throughout the week. Thank you. Carrie says something. Thank you so much for inviting me to join. I look forward to joining other sessions. Oh, okay. Hope we can solve the problem of Microsoft Teams, Carrie. Let's work on it. Özgür shares the link here. Okay then. Thank you once again. Hope to
Thank
see
you, Cem.
Thank
See
you,
you
Professor.
next week.
Yes.
stopping the recording here. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,